Welcome to the Pointe Church. I have a little cold, so you're going to have to excuse my voice because it's kind of been in and out. And today's been really stressful, so it's kind of starting to leave me already. Anyway, I'm Stephen Parker. Hang on just a second. Yeah, technology. I'm the technical director here. I oversee everything audio, video, broadcast, set design related, lighting. Lead a volunteer team. We have 20 to 25, I don't know exactly, volunteers who serve on the teams here. Yeah, and so welcome to the church. Welcome to the worship conference. I hope today's been a blessing for you. And I've got a couple of things I just want to share. It's kind of a collaboration of a couple of different lessons that I've come up with and taught in the past. First I wanted to just kind of share my heart on tech and leading worship. Technical arts and worship, playing in the background. I want to hear from some of you. Like, what is your perspective of the heart behind technical positions or technical arts? Anybody? Not all at once. All right, well, okay, go ahead, John. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah. So if you couldn't hear him, then for recording purposes, I'll repeat this. So it's finding a balance between doing it well, making it sound good, and also serving the congregation and trying to provide what the church needs in worship, referring to audio position. But the same principle can be applied to all the technical positions. So I just listed. Okay. Positions in the technical arts. You have CG operator. Who knows what CG operator is? Anybody? Computer graphics. It does stand for computer graphics. However, technically it stands for character generator. So it has, several meanings, but it's referred to as the character generator operator, and that's the person who runs the lyrics, who clicks on the slides, who runs the sermon note slides, the announcement slides, and when I think about the position, I think, okay, well, how is that? How are you leading worship? How are you being a worship leader and leading people in the congregation in that position? Well, simply, you're displaying the lyrics for them to sing in worship. So if you're not on top of your job, if you're not doing your job right and with a heart of serving and a heart of passion and excellence, and you get off and you get behind, say someone's coming in and they're like, I've had it with life. This is my last chance. I'm just going to give God a chance. And say they walk in and during worship and the lyrics are really bad. Like, they're really off. And all I can think about is, how am I supposed to even sing this? Because everything's behind. And their experience becomes a negative thing, and that reflects of how they receive God and maybe their sensitivity to the gospel because of a lack of excellence and preparation for a CG operator. So same thing you go down the list, lighting operator, same thing applies. For a lighting operator, you're using fill lights or colors or whatever to set an atmosphere or just a setting for worship. You can use lights to create moods as well in worship. Your audio engineer, same thing. the gospel. Jesus said, "Go out, and preach the gospel." Well, what better way than using amplifier systems so that more people can hear the gospel? And so that's my perspective of audio is, everything that I do has the goal of trying to make sure the the message is communicated the way it was intended. So then you have broadcast operators or camera operators. Those people are, allowing the world to experience what's happening if you're broadcasting your services or you're doing podcasts or whatever. Your stage crew. For example, this past series that we just finished was called Skeletons in the Closet. And we had 6 skeletons in the closet dressed up to represent different ideas. Well, our stage crew team was able to come out here and assist with, the sermon illustrations, and so that the pastor could deliver his message without having to fumble with anything. That position is huge, and it's seen. It's probably the only position that's seen on the tech team is people who are moving stuff on stage. But that's so important because you're allowing the people who are delivering the message of Christ to be free of distractions, and so that they can focus on the people and the message, and stage design as well. So if you build sets, I don't know if your churches do, or if you change the way the stage looks, the thought that you're putting into that, the creativity, is a heart of worship. We're made in God's image, and God's a creative God. And so, let's see, I just had a couple of different slides and pictures. Something I mentioned already. Excuse me. Get some water. Something I've mentioned already, and then I want to come back and hit again. It's something that I'm really passionate about, and if you serve on the team that I lead, you'll hear me say this a lot, and that's that we do things with excellence. Why? It's not because we want attention. It's not because we want the congratulations and the applause, because honestly, you probably won't get that for the most part in tech, serving in the background. And so it's excellence for the sake of moving the attention to God, to Jesus. Colossians 3:23, whatever you do, work at it with all your heart, as working for the Lord, not for human masters. So you know that you will receive an inheritance from the Lord as a reward. It's the Lord Christ you are serving. And so I continue to try to remind, the people who are on the team that do things in excellence. And I've prepared a lot of materials and resources for them to look at and refer to and read if they want to take up the opportunity for the resources. But a few things. What does excellence look like? So, what positions do you serve at in your churches or in tech in your churches? Anybody? Light director. So, what does excellence look like in your role? Yeah. And it's funny that we picked lighting, because lighting is a very debated topic in the church. There's a lot of people who are like, you don't need lights in church, and you don't need flashy stuff, And my response is, well, look at the Sistine Chapel. Michelangelo painted the entire ceiling. And in that time period, that was their art form of the best degree, was paintings. Well, this day and age, we're in technology. You go to a concert and you see incredible lighting shows. Why not take that creativity and that excitement and that energy and bring it to God's house so we can, you know, set an exciting atmosphere of worship and set a mood for, worship. And so that's my perspective, is that, lighting it's using modern creativity, just like painters would back in, the however many years, 16th centuries. So, so yeah, excellence is something I'm really passionate about. Yeah, do it for God. And again, I'll refer back to the little illustration I was giving earlier about, when someone comes into the church and they might not know God, keeping the value of excellence in everything that you do at the forefront of your mind will eliminate those distractions from happening. It will help reach people for Christ. And everything that we do in pursuing excellence in our technical positions is for reaching people for Christ. And so that's another thing, is tech can be very mundane. It can be very, day after day, do the grind. Weekend comes, you do the services. Next week comes, you do the stage setup and all your setup stuff for the week, and then you do it again. And it's not very glorious. There's not a whole lot of glory and congratulations in setting up lights and running cables and programming stuff. But you have to remember the purpose, like your purpose of what are you doing? Like, why are you doing what you're doing? And as some people say, it's the why behind the what. And I just wanted to talk for a couple of minutes, moving on. I know it seems like I'm really scattered, but there is some kind of structure to this. So yeah, your purpose on the team is, like I've repeated, to reach people for Jesus, and that's the main purpose. There's a leadership saying, that vision leaks. If we're not reminded of vision, if you're not reminded of the vision of your church, of maybe it's the mission here. We have helping people find and follow Jesus. That's the mission of our church. And so I'm always saying that to our volunteers, saying, because vision leaks. As you live your life, things weigh you down, and life happens, and things are stressful, and coming into church, you wake up and you're like, oh, it's early on Sunday. I barely had any time to rest on my day off yesterday. I'm exhausted. What will help you get out of the bed is, okay, there's people that are lost and that don't know Jesus. And by me showing up and doing what I've committed to do, they might get saved today, and they might spend eternity in heaven. And so it's that purpose that we continue to do what we do that drives us and that fuels the passion behind, serving in technical ministries. And does anybody have any questions about anything? Okay. I wanted to share. I have a video that it's a part 3 of a 4-part lesson that I put together for the team. And before I play it, I need to make sure it's unmuted. So give me just a second. Yeah, so this is part 3 of a 4-part teaching on going the extra mile. So, Jesus shared in Scripture, if a soldier asks you to carry his equipment, and it customary by law, Roman law, the Jews would have to carry their equipment for 1 mile. That was law. And in the Scriptures, Jesus is saying, if someone asks you to go 1 mile, go 2 miles. And so there's just a lot of leadership principles packed into that Scripture. And so this is one of the points from a leadership lesson. So check this out. All right. Thank you for not falling asleep. Yeah, so like I was sharing, there's a lot of truth in going the extra mile. A couple of the other points were it's unasked for, it's unexpected. Um, you're serving others when you go the extra mile. You're being Jesus to people. And so, yeah, I just wanted to share that with you. So a little nugget, a little leadership talk. Wanted to move into a time of questions slash training. Since I'm not sure of the different. So who does audio? Who mixes audio at your church? In here. So we have 1, 2, 3. All right. So how many lighting people do we have? Lights. So we got one. So what other capacities do you guys serve in here? Or do you help out with tech? Stage design. Video. Do you capture video or CG operator? Yeah. Lyrics operator. There's a lot of names for it. Video. Yeah. Well, I'm trying to get on the ground rolling a video team, so it's a video creation team. So I can't really call it that. Yeah. I like this picture just because it captures a picture of behind the scenes. It's kind of overexposed, but I just like the capture. Yeah, so I just wanted to open it up, and if anybody has any questions about audio or video or lighting or anything like that, I've been blessed to be able to learn a lot about these different things. If anybody, if you don't have any specific questions, I do have a couple of things that I can show you. Yeah.
We're a little budget limited at the moment.
Mm-hmm.
I do a lot of the computer graphics, projection stuff. You're aware of any good, other than just searching through Google to try to find images and so on, or some good background video loops, background stuff?
For behind lyrics, there's churchmotiongraphics.com or CMG. You can search Church Motion Graphics. They have a monthly subscription. I think it's $10 a month. But they release a package of about 15 or 20 motion backgrounds. They also release slides if you don't have a graphic designer to create slides for you. Along with those graphic packages, they release welcome and offering or giving slides and countdowns, a couple of different things like that, like videos, countdowns, and but it's churchmotiongraphics.com. That's what I've seen a lot of churches use. They also have a website that they own as well called it's CMG Create. I think it's the name of it. But there's thousands of stock images for free. For example, this right here, that smoke thing, that was a free image off that website. CMG Create. That image right there is, there's just tons of images. Sorry, I have my lighting cues programmed from my CG computer. That's another cool thing. So when we do events like this, and we do a Christmas Palooza, which is a big outreach event we do. Past couple years, we every 30 minutes or every 25 minutes, it snowed in here for 5 minutes. So we had snow machines and a lighting cue But this is where they were doing the Santa pictures on stage, so all the kids could do free Santa photos. But so like every 30 minutes, it would like all the slides would change and music would come on, let it snow, and the snow machines would start blowing, and so I just had that programmed on a loop with ProPresenter with a MIDI trigger going to my lighting computer, and so everything was running itself like the whole day. It's pretty cool. I just had to check the fluids and stuff. That's really cool. Yeah. So that's. I wanted to talk a little bit about audio. If you don't know audio, or if you're not interested in it, just stay tuned because you might, something might intrigue you. I don't know. That's kind of how I got started with things. Is just started asking questions and then became really intrigued. But I would say that in audio, if there's one thing that is good to know, especially in a lot of churches, a lot of times it's, churches don't have the budgets to go pay for integrators and professionals a lot. So they say, just go figure it out. If something's broke, figure it out. If this instrument's not getting signal, what do we do? And so I believe the most important thing to know is signal flow. So who has heard of signal flow? Anyone? What is signal flow? Yeah. So signal flow is everything electrically from this diaphragm that I'm talking into to the diaphragm that you're hearing sound out of. So this is what signal flow is. And there's a lot of terminology that you kind of have to define within talking about audio stuff. But basically signal flow is, I've been using this little resource for several years, and I like it just because it's colorful. But this is basics of signal flow. And if you learn the path of this signal, of how it flows from the source to the output, then you can start thinking linearly, however you say that, linear, and you can troubleshoot really fast. I guess God's just really gifted me with that ability, where if there's something wrong, like my brain just goes and just takes off on a path, and then I typically can figure out what's wrong within seconds, just thinking through signal flow. Probably because I'm ADD. That might be it. I don't know. So signal flow, you have an input. So I'm just going to use this microphone, for example. We have an input, and this is a wireless signal going to my rack back here, and that's plugged into the snake, the audio snake, which is going all the way to the soundboard. So all of that is before you get to like the phantom power and the trim and the gain. So a lot of this stuff is your signal flow once it goes into a soundboard, which is also another great building block to learn with mixing, or setting up building mix. So you have your gain, which is your preamp, and then you have your inserts if you have them, so you like your effects racks. And then you have your dynamic processors, which is your EQ and your compressors and your gates and all that stuff. And then you have your different sends. But really what you need to know is okay, so how is it going through the board and getting back to the system? So you usually have a bus send, which is just a signal output. So you have your bus assignments coming out of your console, and then you have it going to your amplifiers, and then from there, your speakers. So that's basically the process of, what was that? Excuse me. Sorry. So, that's Another resource that I want to share with you is this is a what I call our patch sheet, and so this is a this is you can steal this idea. Use this resource for your churches if you need to. It really helps with communication and preparation, and to keep your worship team from getting frustrated. Because if they come in and their stuff's not ready to go, then they're going to be distracted and not ready to practice. And so, basically, what you see, the first channel, the first column I have, which is the board channel, which is the physical channel on the board. The next one I have sub-snake channel. So on our stage, we have all these lovely sub-snakes like this. So we've got, I think, like 5 or 6 of them, I don't know, whichever goes up to E. Yeah. And so, so for where everything is plugged into the board, I have that labeled. So that never really changes. Next, I have my instruments, and then I have the person. So every week, every week, I go and change it, and that lets people know who come help set up the stage. So I have volunteers that come and help set up the inputs and make sure the instruments are in the right spots and the choir risers and all that stuff. So they can just look at this and see, okay, that's exactly where they need to plug into. They're using a DI box or an active DI box, and they need the far right column is the mixers. So I have exactly how many mixers that are needed for the weekend, and for what vocals they go into. And so by using this and referring to the stage layout, which our band director John will arrange on a document how we have everything laid out on stage, I can look at that and look at this and just set everything up without having to chase down people for communication. All the communication happens up front. So if somebody needs something specific, it's like, okay, Mike's on guitar 1 this week. Let me find out if he's using his amp, or let me find out if he's going to go directly in. And so that'll allow me to update and update the system in here, so the volunteers coming in to set up like on before rehearsal can know exactly what to do. Organization is key in terms of leading volunteers, and especially when you have so many details and set up for stuff like tech. So this is just an example of a resource, and the way that we use this is it's on Google Drive with Google Sheets. So I just have it shared with several people. They can literally go in and log in from their phone or computer or whatever and look at this, or they can update it themselves. So say a volunteer gets to it before I do on Monday or whatever, they can look at Planning Center, update this, and just come and set up the stage, and so it really allows just the communication for where everything goes and where everything plugs in for the audio system. It just keeps everything clear. And so I typically have one of these where I have a running list. I'll just change it week to week. This one's particular for our worship night tomorrow night, which if you're able to come, please join us. But fun thing, we're using all 32 channels, like all 32 channels on the board. So that's happened once before at another worship night. But fun mix. Anybody have any questions? Anything? We've got like 2 or 3 more minutes. Yes. We do Facebook Live here. We broadcast on our church page. The way that we do it is very bare bones. Well, for the most part, it's pretty simple. This little camera right here looks like a little cylinder thing. It's called the Mevo, and it's made by a company, Livestream.com. And it can be controlled with a phone or an iPad. Um, and it's basically a camera control and a production software built into the app. So, however you control it and within the app for the camera is what it's outputting for the broadcast. Um, and you can hook up. The way we have the audio ran, have it's basically a front of house board mix being sent with a. There's a microphone up here that's a room mic for ambience. Um, but yeah, I mean, we basically stream straight to our Facebook page. We don't as of right now, we're not streaming to multiple platforms. Hopefully soon we will. But that's our broadcast. As of right now, we have average of 25 to 30 live viewers. Um, but between like Sunday and Sunday, we'll have anywhere between 10 and 15,000 views. Um, that sounds like a lot, but it's probably really only 100 people watching it for like the whole thing. But yeah, I mean, the testimonies that I've heard from our broadcast has been just incredible. Like people, you know, like John here said, he was looking for a church and he checked us out on Facebook a few times and then talked to a friend at work and decided to come, and he's just getting plugged in. And so I've just seen it be used like that, but also as a tool to reach people. We had one person after we started broadcasting, they lived near here, and on the Monday after they saw the broadcast on that Sunday, they were driving by the church, and they were like, well, that's that church that I saw on Facebook. And they stopped by here, and our associate pastor at the time was able to show them around and just talk to them, sit down with them, have a conversation, and the guy ended up receiving Christ that day because he saw our broadcast, and then he was driving by the church the next day, and he was like, oh, that's the church I saw online, and he ended up coming to faith in Christ, because of that. And so there's several more stories that I've heard, and it's really encouraging, and that's the why behind the what. That's why we put all this extra work in, and to preparing, so that lives can be changed. And I just think technology is just an incredible tool. It's an incredible thing. I mean, it's being used in so many different ways, but for it to be used for eternal purposes, I think is really the best way it could be used. I mean, and I'm sorry if you have a different opinion than I do, but I just think technology should be celebrated and used in church. Lights, there is a point where it's you do get to a point. There is a line somewhere there where it's okay. That was too showy. That was too flashy. But then again, if you do cross that line, then you can say we're having fun together. We're Christians. We're not doing this to be sinful. We're not playing a special song, Coldplay or whatever, because we're trying to get applause. And we're doing it because the pastor has a message prepared that he wants to connect this song that we're doing that's really fun with incredible lighting and all of this stuff. He wants to take that song and connect it with the gospel. And he wants to connect it with a message for that Sunday. And so I celebrate technology and doing things different, because you don't see, honestly, you don't see churches who never change and do things over and over and over the same way. You just don't see them reaching people. And you have to do what you got to do to reach people. You got to be all things to all people, as Paul said, so that we might reach some. And so this is pretty much it. If you have any questions, I'm an open book as much as I'm allowed to be in terms of focusing on what's going on. So stop me, ask me questions. You can grab my business card to get my email address. Any questions anybody has along the way, you can shoot me an email, and I can help you out as best as I can. I love opportunities where I can just hear what other churches have got going on, and just kind of giving some feedback and input based on the experience that I have. And so, yeah, thanks for your time and your focus.